Hi, all you music lovers out there. My name's Andy Rodriguez, also known as the Blackspinner. And if you're new to my channel, what we do here is that we go through my record collection. We are going through it in alphabetical and in chronological order. Today we are going to be doing the letter T. And if you're new to our channel, look at our other channels. And don't forget to subscribe and also leave a comment as well. And what we do here is I'll go through each album that I have that starts with the letter T, and I will also talk about key tracks and hit singles off each album. Maybe you might want to go ahead and look them up and might find your curiosity. And also, they're great songs, so you might be able to stream them, and you'll have a good time during this show. The letter T, I was very surprised to see that I didn't have that many with the letter T. I always thought the letter T was one of the most common letters. It always is on the Wheel of Fortune, but I guess not in names of bands. So it's not as big as I was expecting. But let's get started. Let's go. The first album that I have that start with the letter T is Tears for Fears, Songs for the Big Chair. This is their biggest hit album, and this was released, I believe, in 85 or 86, 1985. And this has a lot of songs on here that were hits. There were 3 songs that were released on this album, and there were Shout, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. In fact, Everybody Wants to Rule the World is one of my favorite songs. It is in my top 20 songs of all time. And Head Over Heels. Those are the 3 big songs off this album. But this album is very good. The Working Hour, Mother's Talk is just okay. But I Believe and Listen, it's a really good album by Tears for Fears. This was in 85. I was lucky enough to see Tears for Fears a couple of years ago when they came to Houston for a festival. And they started the set with Everybody Wants to Rule the World. It was great. It was a really good show. And next we have here one of the Motown's most successful bands. And not just Motown, just one of the most successful R&B pop bands ever. Got a couple albums by these guys. The first one is In a Mellow Mood, The Temptations. This one was released in 67. This was okay. It didn't have any of their big hits because when it came to Motown and their bands and their singers and their performers, they weren't really big album people. There were big album artists. There were more hit singles. And this one did not have any hit singles that we know of by the Temptations. But nevertheless, it's a very, like it says, mellow mood album. It's a very calm album. It's low energy, this album. Hello Young Lovers, A Taste of Honey, of course, is a standard, as is Old Man River. I'm Ready for Love. Try to Remember. That's Life, But it doesn't have the umph that you are very familiar with by the Temptations. And speaking of umph, I have this album here. This was a medley as seen and heard on Motown 25 TV soundtrack. This is going to be the Temptations with the 4 Tops. And I was lucky enough that the Temptations and the 4 Tops did come to Houston. I know it's not the original members, but still, each of them do have. I think the Temptations still has Otis Williams, which was the creator and the bringer and the leader of the Temptations. The 4 Tops, I'm not too familiar with them, but I know that there was at least 2 original members on there. But nevertheless, they came to Houston and we saw them, and it was just a great show. Both of them were great. But this was a TV show, a special TV presentation of the celebration of Motown. I'm celebrating 25 years, and this has great stuff on it. Reach Out, I'll Be There, Get Ready, It's the Same Old Song, Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Baby I Need Your Lovin', I Can't Get Next to You, I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie, Honey Bunch. I mean, we all know that song. I Know I'm Losing You. And this was great. What is this? Huh. And that was just side one. Now that I see this, side one has the Temptations with the Four Tops. And it has the songs that I just read to you. It's a medley, so you know a lot of the songs are going to be, you know, cut in half. But when we look at side two, now that I look at side two, by reading this, I forgot that side two has the Jackson 5. And they do a medley and with I Want You Back, ABC, Dance Machine, Never Say Goodbye, and I'll Be There. And wow, that's pretty neat. I didn't know that this was on side two of that. Maybe I should have heard this one all the way through, because I know I heard side one, but I never flipped it to side two. But it should say the Temptations, the Four Tops, and the Jackson 5. So that's pretty neat. That's a big surprise that I just found out now. And next, from the Temptations, we do go to a band from England named 10 Years After. Excuse me, Oscar had to go outside. 10 Years After, which is a English hard rock blues band from the late 60s, early 70s, were the years that were the most prominent. And it features Alvin Lee. I think I spoke about Alvin Lee in the L's. I've got one of his solo albums. But this is where he made his name. Alvin Lee was considered also to be one of the guitar heroes to come out of the hard rock blues English scene. Like we're talking about Fleetwood Mac and 10 Years After, and maybe even a little bit of Cream during that time, and also Humble Pie. They all fit together in this mode. They all fit together in this sound. So let's get started. I think this is our third album, 10 Years After. Shh is the name of the album. This so far, you know, I don't have all the 10 Years After, but so far this is my favorite one by them. This is great. There's the inside of it. And one good thing about the 10 Years After that my Uncle Rene has pointed out about them, because we both got into them at about the same time. I've gotten into them like during the past about year and a half. We have been listening to 10 Years After. And it's so surprising how well the production is for them. And the background sounds and the sound effects for this albums that were done in the late 60s, early 70s. And the songs on here are fantastic. Bad Scene, Two-Time Mama, Stoned Woman, Good Morning Little Schoolgirl. And a lot of these are going to be like Good Morning Little Schoolgirl is a blues favorite and has been around for quite some time. If You Should Love Me and The Stomp. A lot of these are written by Alvin Lee, so this was his band. 10 Years After was his band. He was the singer, writer, and the guitar player, and he was just fantastic filling those roles. And next I have Cricklewood Green. I love this album cover. I don't know what it is about this album cover, but I love this album cover. I just got this album last Sunday. I got it, and I've heard a lot of good reviews, and it didn't strike me as much as the other 10 Years After that I have. I was hoping it would, but maybe I just need to listen to it more. I've only had it for a week, so let me spin it a little bit more. But Sugar the Road, working on the road, good, and another song, 50,000 Miles Beneath My Brain, and Love Like a Man, and The Sun Still Burns are a couple of songs that stuck out to me. But like I said, I've only had it for a week, so I got to give it some more spins. Maybe something else would reveal to me. But there's the inside of it. And like I said, the album cover, there's just something about it that I love. And here's another 10 Years After that I really like this one. This is called Rock and Roll Music to the World. For some reason, when I bought it, I thought it was going to be a live album. because the album cover is very deceptive. It looks like it is a live album. Even the inside makes me think it's a live album, but it's not. There's the album right there. Here's the back of it. And the songs on here, You Give Me Lovin', Convention, Prevention, You Can't Win Them All, Choo Choo Mama is really good, and the title track, Rock and Roll Music to the World, and Tomorrow I'll Be Out of Town. Man, this is just a good album. You never know which way Albert Lee's going to go with his guitar. The guitar and the keyboards are just going at it in all direction. And this is really good. I really enjoyed this one. And this has made me become because this was the first 10 years after that I had bought. And I was like, wow, pretty interesting. Let me see what else these guys have. And I have not been disappointed yet. Well, that Cricklewood Green was okay, but not up to the standards of what I expect from them. And this one here, this is a Pickwick album. Pickwick was a record company that put out a lot of compilations, and at first I thought this was a import because of the feel of the album cover. Feels like an import, but this is a Pickwick release, and if you're familiar with Pickwick, what they do is just release like greatest hits albums. This is Good Morning Little Schoolgirl. Like I said before, one of these days, Baby Won't Let You Go. I woke up this morning, Hear Me Calling, and Rock and Roll Music to the World. Like I had said, those are the albums that still stick out to me. And and when it comes to Pickwick releases, they're not like greatest hits because these are more deep tracks on these albums. But if you never heard of 10 Years After, check them out. They are, like I said, English hard rock of the early 70s with some blues and boogie woogie thrown in there. Next, I have a band that hails out of Northern California. That's the only vinyl I have by them. I got a couple of their CDs and a couple of their cassettes. But I really like them. They came out of the hair days, which I don't like that term either. A lot of people don't. I don't. Because it was a big force in the world of music. Talk about Tesla. But, you can't really group them along with the other LA Hollywood bands. I've never thought them that way. And it's the same way that I think of Queensryche. Queensryche does not belong in that category either. Tesla still is. They're still touring. They are a hard rock band with so much to offer. And the thing with Tesla is that they still tour, but they tour with the bands that they don't have business touring with. They'll tour with like Journey or other bands that, it'd be great if Tesla would just go out on their own and just play shows by themselves. But, that doesn't happen these days anymore. But let's talk about this album. This is the Great Radio Controversy. And this was their biggest hit. But other albums like The Psychotic Supper that's after this album is just fantastic as well. But the songs on here, Hang Tough, Lady Luck, so good. Heaven's Trail, No Way Out, No Way Out. Lazy Days, Crazy Nights. And let's go to side 2, because side 2 is the side that really made them. Because that has The Way It Is, and the big song from here is my favorite song by Tesla, period, is Love Song. The video was played forever on MTV in the late 80s. That was a big hit for them. And yeah, Tesla, here's the back of it. My dog, Oscar, the one that was just barking and ran out to meet his brother, Harry, got a hold of this album cover and got a little, I guess it tasted good to him, I don't know. But the important part is, there's the inside of it, the inside cover of it. But the important part, of course, is the album itself. It still looks great. It was a Giffen release. And next we have a guitar player by the name of George Thorogood. And unfortunately, I only have one George Thorogood in the Destroyers. This one's called Better Than the Rest. This is the only media I have of George Thorogood. I don't have them on cassette or CD. This is the only George Thorogood that I have. And it's okay. You know, I enjoy it. But I know there's better stuff by him. I think this was released in 1979. So I gotta give it another spin. I've had it for a while and it just doesn't get played as often as it should. But the songs on here that I like, I'm Ready, which was a Willie Dixon song. Howlin' for the Darlin'. Nadine, which was a Chuck Berry song. Nadine, why can't you be true? And Worried About My Baby is good. And Huckle Up Baby. So, you know, George Thorogood, pretty sure you're familiar with a couple of his songs. Like his big song was Bad to the Bone. And, but yeah, I really should give this more of a listen to. I haven't, but I will. And, you know, like I said, when I go through these albums, especially, well, I'm going through them one by one. So I'm finding albums that I haven't heard in a long time or had only heard a couple of times. So it's good to see some go, wow, you know, George Thorogood, I gotta listen to that. And next I have an album by a band that is, I wouldn't call them alternative at all. They were hard, heavy metal of the 90s. And this is the only album I have by them. I got their other stuff on CD, which I'll talk about when I do my CDs. But I'm talking about Tool. This is Undertow. My favorite album by them is Enema. This is the template for Enema. It's not quite that good. There's a couple of tracks on here are almost kind of pedestrian-like. I mean, great for other bands, but pedestrian for Tool, if y'all know what I'm trying to say. Does this open? No, this does not open. There's the back of it. But the songs on here, Intolerance, Prison Sex, Sober. Sober was their big hit single that was played on the radio constantly when this album came out. Swamp Song and Flood. And Undertow, the album track. Album track. But yeah, this is a precursor to what's to come from these guys. But, you know, Tool, I'm not saying there's anything bad with Undertow. It's a great album, but their other stuff is just exquisite. And the next, you know, I've got a lot of one-off albums by bands with the letter T, which was a big change because of the letter S. If y'all saw my episodes for the letter S, which had 4 episodes to go through S, I had a lot of bundles in there of just one band or so. Traffic. This is the only album I have by Traffic. This has the great Steve Winwood on vocals and keyboards and Jim Capaldi, which I think, Jim Capaldi. And this is called the low end. What is it? Oh no, this is I can't read it that well. There's the stars there for the paper sleeve. This one's called Shoot Out the Fantasy Factory, which these guys were already on their last leg. This was released in the early 70s or maybe even close to the mid 70s. You know, these guys were already writing it home by that time, which is a shame. Because, you know, I've been wanting to get more Traffic, but this album kind of turns me off to getting more. But, you know, I've streamed other stuff by them and I like it. And so, you know, if the opportunity pops up, I will get more Traffic. There's the back of it. The songs on here, I'll get into a couple of them. The album track Shoot Out the Fantasy Factory is pretty good. Roll Right Stones is alright. But other than that, it was just okay. And next I have a guitar player. He's another guitar hero that came out of Canada, but he hit it big here in America. The late 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. And in fact, I was able to see him in concert last November when he came to play here in Houston at the Carbach Festival, which was a fun festival to go to. They do a hard rock, heavy metal, classic rock festival in November, and the closer for that, the headliner was Ace Frehley, and also Accept was also playing, and so was Pat Travers. Pat Travers, a great guitar player, great singer. You know, he's very personable on stage. He's a lovable guy on stage. He keeps you entertained with just not his guitar playing, but his storytelling that goes into each track. You know, I find him very, very fun to watch live. This is live. The songs on here that stick out to me: Life in London, Running from the Future, It Ain't What It Seems, and Loving You. And this is just a no-holds-barred album. This just comes at you. I mean, just with full force, and he's so entertaining, and I like Pat Travers a lot. And another album that I have by Pat Travers is Black Pearl. This might have been early 80s, I believe. 82, yep. Early 80s. Black Pearl. Here's the back of it. I mean, this guy is just a professional all the way around. And the songs on here, I'd Rather See You Dead, which they played Stand Up, The Fifth, Misty Morning, and Rockin'. And yes, every time you put on a Pat Travers, it's rockin'. You're going to get a rockin' album. And next I have a band that hails out of Canada. They are a three-piece band out of Canada. No, I'm not talking about Rush, but I'm talking about a band that was so unfairly measured against Rush. All because they were a three-piece hard rock band out of Canada. They came out in the mid 70s and played with their original members up into the mid 80s. You know, they had a great run of a decade. It was so unfair that they kept on being compared to Rush. I mean, Rush is one of the greatest bands of all time. They are Hall of Famers. They are originators. But this band that I'm about to talk about, Triumph. They might not be up to par of Rush, but then again, who is? But Triumph in their own right is a good hard rock band. They hail out of Canada. They tried hard to make it. And a funny story, the way that they made it big, it wasn't until a radio show in San Antonio, Texas, that would play their tracks at midnight. And people would call the radio station, who is this band? And Triumph. And they would make a trip to San Antonio to play to a sold-out show. It was crazy. And so let's start with their discography, because I got quite a bit of Triumph. This will be their debut. Well, this isn't their debut album. They've got another debut album that wasn't really widely released. So this sometimes is considered their debut album. This is called Rock and Roll Machine by Triumph. And I know that it looks kind of weird. It is a silver. Oh, well, here's the back of it. This is a fantastic debut album. I might do a show on the top 20 debut albums in my collection, and this might be in it. Here's the album. It is silver, and it looks kind of bad, but it plays fantastic. There's a picture of the guys there on the album itself. And let's go through these songs. Takes Time, Little Texas Shaker, New York City Parts 1 and 2. Epic song. Epic. And you think that was epic. You flip it to side 2 and they do a 3-part song called The City with so many changes in it. They don't get proggy like Rush. They don't. But it's a good hard rock band. And they do a really good cover of Rocky Mountain Way, which is a Joe Walsh song. They do homage to him on that song. And also Rock and Roll Machine. This is a 3-piece band. Rick Emmett is the guitar player, and Gil Moore plays the drums. And Gil Moore and Emmett change vocals. And also Mike Levine, bass and keyboards. Those are the three-piece band. And their second release, Triumph, Just a Game. They start to find their footing on this album here. This is a good hard rock album. Sometimes on a few tracks, Emmett will extend the guitar solos on here. Paper Sleeve, the songs on here, Moving On, and a hit for them that was the first hit on the radio, Lay It on the Line, Don't Waste My Time, American Girls, side 2, Just a Game, Hold On, Suitcase Blues. You know, you got to owe it to yourself to listen to some Triumph because they're a good hard rock band. And their third release, Progression of Power by the band. This is a really good album as well. They are on a hot streak already. And there's the back of it. It's a paper sleeve inside, but there's the back of it. The songs on here, I Live for the Weekend, In the Night, Woman in Love, and Ringer Talking, which are the songs that stick out to me. And Finger Talking, of course, is going to be Emmett just going crazy. And what I have next is their album that broke worldwide, made them a worldwide phenomenon for a couple of years. Allied Forces. Look at that album cover. That is awesome. That's a great album cover. Here's the back of it. Oh, great. There's a paper sleeve in there. I mean, not a paper sleeve, but a sleeve. Fantastic. And the songs on here, let's go through them. This is my favorite Triumph album. Let's go through them. Let's hit it. Fool for Your Love, Magic Power, of course, Air Raid, Allied Forces, Fight the Good Fight, Everybody, and Say Goodbye. Good stuff on here. This is a great album. I really like it. And this might have been their last great album if it wasn't for this next one. Never Surrender is almost a carbon copy of Allied Forces. And here's the back of it. Never Surrender by them. Here is just the paper sleeve for it. This is just different pictures of the band here. And the songs on here, let's go through them. I'll just see if there's anything interesting we can talk about in the liner notes. Let's see here. Never Surrender, which is the album track. Too Much Thinking, All the Way, Battle Cry is fantastic too. And A World of Fantasy. Yeah, I called out like maybe 5 songs on here. I really like this one. You know, Never Surrender by Triumph. Triumph also had some pretty interesting album covers. Next we have Thunder 7 by Triumph. I told you I had quite a few Triumphs. Here's the back of it. Spellbound. Oh man, Spellbound is just a kick-ass song. Here's the inside, which, you know, it's just okay. The packaging, but they didn't go all out on their packaging on this one. But let's go through the songs. Spellbound, Time Goes By, Stranger in a Strange Land, Follow Your Heart, and Killing Time. Yeah, Triumph. You know, they were just so unfairly compared to Rush. They shouldn't have been. They should not have been. They were completely different. And we all know how much I love the Double Live album. Ding, ding, ding. Double Live album by Triumph. Just simply called Stages. Here's the inside of it. Paper sleeves, but you know, these albums are fantastic. They are well taken care of. Songs on here, When the Lights Go Down, Never Surrender, Allied Forces, Hold On, That's side one. Side two, Magic Power, Rock and Roll Machine, Lay It on the Line. I mean, we've already talked about these songs, and here they are live. And of course, guitar solos is a must on this album. Spellbound, Follow Your Heart, Fight the Good Fight, and Mind Games. Yep. Triumph. The last and second to last album I have by Triumph is The Sport of Kings. This one's just okay. This is past their heyday already. Unfortunately, they start to really incorporate keyboards. Oh yeah, a la Rush at about this time, right? Songs on here, Playing with Fire, Just One Night, and Take a Stand, I guess is alright. There's the album, the paper sleeve on the inside. There's the lyrics for them. But yeah, unfortunately, they lost steam here. You know, but after almost 10 years, you know, which one was this? What time was this released? And still the same album, the same band members. Yeah, 86. They started to lose steam. And still, you know, still making music. Surveillance, which I don't play this one quite at all, really. I was going to say quite a bit, but no, I don't play this one at all. This one, you know, 87. You know, when their heyday was between 77 and 82. It's 5 years past their little prime. Never Say Never is pretty good. All the King's Horses. Unfortunately, you know, for a band, you know, there's the inside of it. For a band that was so good, it's hard to see bands that are just so good and then they start to let you down, you know. But yeah, you know, nevertheless, I am a Triumph fan. And you know, I've said this before. I might have said this way past. I might even said this in the letter A when it came to AC/DC. That, you know, you gotta, you know, you love bands. You love these bands. And sometimes the great part about it is going through their ups and downs. You know, and what we have here is another guitar hero, Robin Trower. This one's called Victims of Fury. This is the only one I have by him. This is really good from really beginning to end. And I'll just talk about a couple of these: Jack and Jill, The Ring, Only Time, and Madhouse. But you know, this is a great album just to throw it on there and let it play, and you will not be disappointed. Victim of the Fury by Robin Trower. And this is the only album that I have by this band. They were a band that came out of the folk rock movement of the 60s. These guys kind of caught it on the tail end. They weren't really that much folk rock as much as they were pop rock. The Turtles. This is one of their biggest hit albums. This does have Happy Together, which is one of my favorite songs, period. I love that song. So let's go through these songs. I can't really... Yeah, I can read the back, I guess. Making My Mind Up, Guide for the Married, Happy Together, She'd Rather Be With Me was a good song. And that's about it. But, you know, what's weird about this band, the Turtles, is that they could have done so much more, but they seem to have caught themselves in a little comedy shtick kind of weirdness that they try to add to their albums that they did not add to their singles. And next, this is my last album with the letter T. And this album might be in my top 20. If not, I am going to talk about it because this album is very special to me. I remember when MTV, these guys were on MTV constantly in the mid-80s. My mom bought me the cassette, and I still have the cassette. I loved it, still do. I found it on vinyl, bought it, had to have it. Talking about Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry. Man, this is a good album. This is a good album, and unfairly are they lumped up with hair metal or hair or whatever they called it. This is just a good hard rock band. You know, we all know Dee Snider is such a prominent voice in the world of rock music. Just not his character, but just the person that he is. You know, but let's get into this album. Stay Hungry album track, fantastic. We're Not Gonna Take It. You know, We're Not Gonna Take It was a MTV video hit for them. Burn in Hell. I don't know if you remember watching The Big Adventures of Pee-wee. I think that's what it was called. Remember the one with the bike? Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Sorry, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And he's running away from the Hollywood executives through the movie sets and all that. And they're playing, "You're Gonna Burn in Hell. You're Gonna Burn in Hell." And they're like shooting the video for the song Twisted Sister, and he's riding by on his bike in front of the guys, and he tells them something, and it's funny, but I forgot what it was. But Burn in Hell, great song. But also, they've got a compilation here, which is called Horror Terria, The Beginning, but this has Captain Howdy on it. Man, that's a great song. And that's only side one. Side two, you flip it, and it's going to have I Wanna Rock. Also, it has a ballad called The Price, which is so good, and the Beast is another good song, and it ends with SMF. You're an SMF. And there's the backlit. Does this have the paper? Oh, this has no paper sleeve at all. But yeah, you know, Stay Hungry. I used to write this on my remember in school we would have like paper folders for your books and notebooks. I would have this logo just all over on everything. The T and the S, I remember I would put on everything. I loved it. This is just a good album. Unfortunately, this is the only one I have by them. And I know that there's other good albums by them, but nothing beat Stay Hungry. This was the pinnacle of Twisted Sister. Stay Hungry from beginning to end. This might be my top 20. I just said it won't be, but going through these songs, man, this is great. Well, that concludes the letter T from my record collection. Thank you so much for joining me as I was going through my record collection. Like I said, I really enjoyed going through these with y'all and sharing my albums with y'all. Well, thanks a lot for joining me, and join me again for my next episode where I will be combining the letters U and the letters V into one episode, which is going to consist of two bands, really, which is going to be a double episode of U2 and Van Halen put together. So please join me for that. And don't forget to subscribe and take care of yourselves and keep rocking. And I'll see you guys next time. Blackspinner signing off.